Hi everyone, it's Vicky here from createafashionbrand.com, fashionserviceshongkong.com. This week I'm going to give you a bit of an update before we get into our questions. The Fashion Brand Bootcamp, the Webinar West. I have some dates. I'm not going to open the booking system until the 1st of April because I keep getting people telling me that they haven't had enough notice, they didn't know, etc., etc. And there is only 8 places. Yes, so we do it once a year. So I am giving you 3 weeks notice. I will remind you all. Okay, so the dates are 25th of June to the 28th. Then we've got a week's break so that you guys can catch up with any research or data or developing ideas from the first week. There's also a couple of holidays that week, so in Asia and in America. So you got some time off too. Then we're going to do 9th to the 12th of July and then the 16th to 19th of July. So those are all the dates. Everything will open on the 1st of April. There you are. You've had notice. You've been warned. Okay, so let's get on to this week's question. And it's from Daniel in Manchester. And Daniel's written me an email. He's on my newsletter. And it means he can just reply and ask me a question. And he says, how do I make sure my marketing works? Okay, so Daniel, there are 2 things that you've got to think about. We spoke a little bit about this last week in terms of the platforms that you use and looking at data. You must look at data because that will tell you when to post, where to post, like what platforms, what time to post, the things that are being shared and liked and the ideas that people want. And don't forget that's on different platforms. Okay, so Facebook might have a different response to certain posts to Instagram, for example. So you post certain things on Instagram, certain things on Facebook. Okay, but the only way you're going to find that out is data, and you have to make sure that you're looking at that and tracking it and finding all the trends in order to make that effective. Okay. But essentially, you've got to put stuff out there in order to get the data back. So you need to do that first. So what do you put out? What do you start with? Okay, it's very simply a word that I use in my bootcamp actually a lot, which is consistency. Okay, if you are trying to market your brand, then whatever you do, whether it's a photo shoot, whether it's an actual catwalk show, it's a video, it's a post, it's a uplifting thought for the day, if it's an image, it doesn't matter what media you're using or what event you cover or what you're doing. It has to represent your brand. And your brand is what you're telling people you are. It's what you stand for. It's your values. It's the promises that you're making your customers. So if you say, for example, we're the cheapest in the world, then you have to be the cheapest in the world. And that has to be reflected in your marketing. If that's what you want to promise people, if that's what you're promoting to people in order for them to come to you, it's because you're the cheapest in the world, then that has to be reflected in your marketing. You have to show people you're the cheapest in the world. You also have to keep that promise. So you have to keep checking all the other companies in the world, which is very difficult. But you have to keep that promise. You have to show it in your marketing. You have to reflect that in your pricing, which then feeds into your manufacturing and so on and so on. If, for example, you have, I don't know, you don't use animal fur, or you support some kind of animal rights group, then obviously if your products are found to have some kind of animal skin or animal fur, that's not living up to your brand. That's not part of the promise you've made your customers, your consumers, because they're coming to you because you've made that promise, because you've said we only use fake XYZ. They're coming to you for that reason. Then you have to deliver that promise, but it also has to be reflected in your marketing. So you have to show that you're I don't know, you might include animals in your marketing. It doesn't have to be full on. You don't have to have a big banner that says, we don't support, you know, animal testing or killing animals for fur. It doesn't have to be so obvious, but it has to be reflected somewhere in your marketing, because people take in imagery actually far more quickly than they take in words. So they have to, you know, whatever they're seeing, they have to understand what you're telling them through the imagery, through the wording, what the person's saying on screen, and everything in your videos, in everything. When I was at the old office, unfortunately, we're not allowed to change the wall color. But when I was at my old office, for example, I made sure that the walls were the same blue as my company. And I have 4 colors in my logo, and they were always reflected in my videos. The only one you can really see now is, I'll move this way, is that kind of pink color on my dummy, which is the scarf around it. Where we are now, we're not allowed to do that. But where I've been able to, I've made sure that all of my furniture are the right colors, my brand colors, which you can't see, it's all kind of over here now, but they're all the right colors, everything else. I brand my videos with my logo. Everything on my website, for example, is consistent. It's the same fonts, it's the same colors, it's the same layouts, it's the same everything. So you have to really nitpick at everything that you're doing, whether that's a simple image on Instagram. Does that image reflect my brand? Yes or no? Does it reflect the values that I'm promising my consumer? Yes or no? If it's no, you don't use it. If it's yes, then fine. But you have to do that with everything, and literally everything. If you've got a video, is there text in the video? Well, is the text consistent with your brand? Are the right colors in there? What about the background? What about what people are doing in the background? The image, you know, literally everything. She says, having not have her colors anymore. But essentially that's the thing. So you must look at the data and then look at consistency. And if you're reaching the right people, if you've done your customer profile and you've looked at the research, which you've told me you've already done, then you should know where those people are, and you should be able to put the right imagery in front of the right people. Okay, so if you've got a question like Daniel and you want to get in touch with me, you can do that in 2 ways. You can either leave a comment on our YouTube channel, or, and you should be on this anyway, but join our newsletter. And you can email me directly. Just reply to that newsletter and I will get back to you. Sometimes it does take a week or so, but I promise I will get back to you personally. I don't hand it off to other people. That email is just for people on my newsletter. So either join up, details are below, or leave a comment, and I will see you next week for another answer to another question.